brought to you by LaglessGG. Get 35% off your first purchase by using code CygnusMC or click the link below. On November the 18th, 2011, Notch flipped the switch and released Minecraft 1.0 to the masses. Now let me ask you this question. How long did it take for the first ever mod to be created for Minecraft? A week after this event? A month? A year? Well, whatever number you just thought of, it's probably wrong. Let's rewind the clock a little bit. On August 4th, 2010, Minecraft version 0.0.15a was released, and to put it mildly, this is a far cry from Minecraft that even I used to grow up with, let alone today. But this was the first version to ever feature a Minecraft multiplayer. Sure, inventory didn't work or just didn't exist at this time. There was no form of authentication on the server enabled, and you could just place blocks everywhere you want, including inside your friends. But this was the first time you and your buddy could start up a server and join each other for some mining. And some crafting. Not even 48 hours after this update, the first ever batch of mods were created. Amongst them was the often forgotten LlamaCraft, which is your basic anti-griefing mod and just featured a basic command to toggle TNT explosions on or off. But of course, we can't forget about the birthplace of everything modern Minecraft, multiplayer-wise. HMod. The journey from the birth of HMod to now has seen hundreds of projects rise and fall. Thousands of people come and go, but amongst all the chaos, all the betrayals, and especially the egos of developers, and of course Mojang itself, there is one mod that still stands tall. A mod that only released a few weeks after HMod, and witnessed its rise, fall, rebirth, and rebranding. Worldedit. This simple tool has not only given rise to so many fascinating building projects, but it stood the test of time, still being updated and used en masse today. But who are those maintainers? Well, why don't I let one of them introduce themselves?
I'm Maddie, or also known as Me4502. I've been in the Minecraft community for a very long time at this point, honestly. Just over half my life, which is really weird to think about. I'm currently a developer for Worldedit, WorldGuard, and Craftbook, and I've been involved in a lot of different things over the years.
Today, let us dive headfirst in not only Worldedit's history and its creators' long journey over the years, but also explore a decade of Minecraft multiplayer. This is the story of how one mod and its creator not only dominated Minecraft's early history, but laid the foundation for everything that we still use today over 14 years later. First off, a little context. The early days of Minecraft were basically a Wild West, projects popping up left and right and dying just as fast. A great example of this is Lightstone, a fully custom Minecraft server software that included no Mojang code whatsoever. It launched around the same time as HMod, but predictably, as we've seen so many times on this channel, the project grew too big for its boots and development stopped over 14 years ago. Given the volatile nature of not just early Minecraft modding, but also early adopter software in general, it's kind of a miracle that a small project like HMod survived the game's equivalent of the Big Bang. Created by A0 and launched in September 2011, what set HMod apart right from the start was the fact that you could load side mods, or as we now know plugins, right into the server. This gave the server owners the ability to build on HMod's API instead of coding directly for Minecraft itself. And you might ask, but Lunar, why does this matter? Well, because Minecraft at the time was going through such massive changes, often updating within mere days, meaning that you had to update your mod every single time Notch felt a little bit funky on Friday night. Sometimes it was as easy as switching the version number with one value. Other times, it took literal weeks to figure out what in the name of all that is holy Mojang changed this time. Instead, you could just let A0 do all the work for you and code for HMod. Not because its code wasn't changing, but because A0 designed specific hooks you could attach your own code into, and those were far less volatile. This made development much, much easier, and the life of your average 12-year-old developer way better. You know, right until mom finds the piss drawer. It's thanks to this innovation that today's subject, Worldedit, and by extension Craftbook, came into being. Hey, hold on. There's someone at the door. 1 second.
Hi guys, I'm going to furiously spout Minecraft history at you. SK89Q, or Albert, is the original creator of Worldedit. Back in June of 2010, when survival mode was still brand new, Albert had a server with his friends. Each of them built their bases in different styles, scattered across the map. But traveling between them was very confusing, so one day, Albert had the idea to connect all their different bases with roads. The group started manually collecting materials for it. But this process was boring as shit! So, to speed it up, Albert turned to the dark side and became a modder. This was before Forge or Bukkit, so the modding community was tiny. In order to make a mod, you had to open the game files and manually replace them, the whole time trying to guess whether the obfuscated function names meant placing a block or quitting the game. But eventually, Albert managed to create a simple mod that set 2 positions and filled the area with blocks. Shortly after, he released the first version of Worldedit with just 300 lines of code. If Lunar says anything about my smell, it's a lie perpetrated by the woke left.
Why does it smell like an American in here? You want to say something, Tio? You want to say something? No. What's that, Tio? 30% off for the entire holiday season at lagless.gg? Check out the pinned comment below for an even better deal at our great hardware over at lagless.gg. Anyway, after SK89Q created Worldedit, he found that there was not much initial interest. Instead, he focused on another project, Craftbook, a plugin that introduced a ton of new gameplay features, working bridges, interactable gates, and some absolutely wild redstone automation. This project got way more attention than Worldedit, and so he made Craftbook require Worldedit to be installed alongside it, basically forcing players to download both, and oh boy, did that work. Together with another SK89 project, WorldGuard, this holy trifecta dominated the top downloaded plugin lists right alongside another banger of the time, Towny. There is no reason to include Towny here, I just really like this plugin. There was almost no private or public server that didn't use at least one of SK89Q's creations. And during all this, HMod's popularity was exploding, with even Minecraft Online running on it at the time. H0 was on the top of the Minecraft multiplayer empire. His software was the backbone of so many projects that they had to start a forum just to keep track of all of them. So what does one do at the height of their power and influence? That's right, they just say screw it and leave. Yep. In all his wisdom, Greetings Zero simply dropped the first golden age of Minecraft multiplayer on us, refused to elaborate further, and then just dipped. Why? Because he got bored. Lamau. And while, to be fair, much of HMod's growth afterwards was thanks to maintainers like Dinnerbone and Evil Steps, it's still a bit odd to see someone dip the project as soon as it was taking flight. Nevertheless, on December 21st, we got the first ever big project in Minecraft, Bukkit. Now, to say Bukkit was an improvement over HMod would be the biggest understatement in the history of YouTube. Everything HMod did, with a few exceptions, Bukkit did better. Released on January 1st, 2011, Bukkit came swinging right out the gate with a much faster and much easier to code for program, with 3 other plugins released alongside it, enabling features like /home and permissions, as those were things that HMod had that they didn't bring back for Bukkit. And just to zoom out a little bit, because we're looking at the micro, on the macro, we saw HMod rise, Worldedit coming into being, WorldGuard being created, Towny being created, and now the most infamous project in Minecraft history in the span of a few months. To say things were moving fast would be the second biggest understatement in YouTube history.
It's so weird to think about how quickly everything, all of the big changes happened, like in comparison to just the whole timeline of Minecraft history. It really didn't feel like it was such a compact amount of time at the time.
Yeah.
It felt like Bukkit was around forever. The community was in its infancy, I guess. There was a lot of changes, a lot happening, and yeah, it's so weird to look back on it and just think of how little time that was.
But what about their little friend, SK89Q? How was he doing? Well, he was actually one of the developers who helped lay the foundation of many standards that we still use today, like YAML as a universal plugin config format. But despite being highly active and becoming the 4th largest contributor to the Bukkit project, he left that project before the year was even over. Bukkit, however, kept on chugging along without him. The biggest issue early on was those permissions, or the lack of it, leaving plugins like Permissions and the now infamous Permissions X to fill the gap. Wait, when was Permission X released? 14 years ago. Oh my bones. Anyway, with the massive amounts of code being written for and the countless improvements to Bukkit, 2011 was basically the year of Bukkit. And on Minecon 2011, a devil bargain was struck between the Bukkit team and Mojang. Mojang really liked what Bukkit was doing and wanted a piece of the pie. In exchange for an undisclosed amount, Mojang would allow the Bukkit team to contribute using and distributing Mojang's copyrighted code. And eventually 4 other team members of the Bukkit team would leave to work for Mojang, leaving Evil Seth in charge of the project. They made a public announcement about this, and this totally didn't come to bite anyone in the ass a few years later because everybody forgot this post existed. Meanwhile, tons of new projects were forming. Projects we will never hear about today. With the rise of server lists on the side where you could publish your server's IP for new players, Minecraft Online just kinda exploded. Servers like 2B2T and Minecraft Online saw their player numbers swell into the tens of thousands, and it truly seemed like Minecraft was headed towards a great online future. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of game sales came from people wanting to play on one of these servers. And around this time, we also saw the earliest economy and shop plugins appearing, letting servers set up online storefronts where players could spend real world money for in-game items. At first, it was kinda simple, some diamonds here, a few enchanted books there, but it quickly spiraled out of hand, thanks to developers eager to cash in on the growing paid plugin market. During Bukkit's immense growth, other projects were also doing radical new things. Lightstone even managed to return as Glowstone, still aiming to be a fully functioning Minecraft server with zero Mojang code. It's still active today, and I even interviewed its developer right here. But what about other forgotten projects?
The one project that feels like it's been lost to time that I absolutely loved at the time and still do. I mean, I haven't used it in probably 13 years, but like I loved this project. I don't know if you remember it, but Spoutcraft, or Bukkit Contrib as it was initially called. It was a very innovative project for its time. It probably isn't as necessary now as it once was, just with how powerful data packs can be, shaders, etc. They can do crazy things from the server. Yeah, I feel like Spoutcraft was super cool and people just don't talk about it at all anymore.
That's right, lovelies. My beloved Spoutcraft. Created in May 2011, it began as a Bukkit extension installed as a plugin. It allowed players to automatically download new sounds, textures, and items directly from the server. Just imagine today that you don't need to fiddle around with mod loaders anymore. You just join the server and you download all the assets. Create gets downloaded on your client and you can just play directly. That is what Spoutcraft was at the time. But nowadays, it's often remembered as the place MD5 got the idea for Spigot. And Spoutcraft just showed how far the community could even push Bukkit back then, and Minecraft to an extent, to create new gameplay features. And as an aside, this was also the year that Forge Modloader burst into the scene on July 12th, 2011. After the massive explosion of Bukkit-related projects in 2011, the years 2012 to 2014 saw no real contenders to its position. Projects like Spigot started here, but even they couldn't overtake Bukkit's massive popularity, and they lived in its shadow, until the inevitable happened. While the community was enjoying the huge success of large networks like Hypixel, Mineplex, and Shotbow, a dark undercurrent was flowing underneath them all. Paid plugins. They found a home at Spigot. But there was an even bigger issue here. Paid to win servers. Yes, we still have those today, but brother. Some of these servers gave you god tier ranks where staff would practically blew dust up your ass every time you walked by. Eventually, Mojang had to step in, and they had actually outlawed most monetization in their EULA a couple years earlier, but now they went in for the full swing. This single blog post kicked up a shitstorm so massive, it eventually resulted in Notch selling Mojang to Microsoft for like $1 more billion. But there was a casualty no one actually saw coming. Evil Seth, the main maintainer on Bukkit, came out on Twitter, and not in the happy fun time way. He announced that Bukkit was officially dead and would no longer be updated or maintained. But Jeb, from Mojang fame, would have other plans. In a clapback so strong that the Big Bang even got jealous, Jeb revealed that Bukkit wasn't evil set to discontinue, because Mojang owned it, and Mojang would continue development. Most people had even forgotten the 2011 announcement that Mojang owned Bukkit, so this came as a massive shock to the community, and one of the largest contributors to Bukkit, Wolverness, saw what he believed as huge overreach by Mojang and filed a DMCA takedown request, requiring thousands of lines of code to be removed, code that couldn't just be patched in. With one last defined breath, the Bukkit team did not go out quietly into the night, and it taught Mojang a valuable lesson about their community and their EULA, a lesson they are learning again in 2025. But with Bukkit gone, people looked for alternatives. Amongst them was our good friend SK89Q, who, with a group of developers, was working on what he believed would be the future of Minecraft multiplayer. Sponge, better known today as its side project SpongeForge, promised to be that next step in Minecraft multiplayer. It aimed to combine mods and plugins on the same server platform, marking the birth of what we now know as hybrid servers. While early development looked promising, a full release took some time. Although they did build a tool allowing 1.7.10 Bukkit servers to accept 1.8 players, they didn't really catch on. Spigot was actually viewed with skepticism at the time due to its legally messy ties to Bukkit, but most servers ultimately chose to stick with the familiar Bukkit API instead of recoding everything on a new one. Eventually, SK89Q would kind of not be interested in Sponge anymore, and having seen so many projects rise and fall, he created Engine Hub to make sure that his plugins would be developed even if he goes away. And after this was done, he actually stepped back. And after a few years, he stepped back for good, leaving Maddie and the Engine Hub team to carry the torch forward.
Yeah, so I joined probably 2011, so 14 years ago, and I'm 27, so that is, yes, just over half my life. I just started playing on different servers and helping them develop their plugins, and then started my own server and got really into Craftbook, but it was kind of semi-abandoned at that point in time. So I just basically went to SK89Q, who was the, he's the creator of Worldedit, Worldguard, Craftbook, etc. And basically just said, hey, I want to work on this. It seems like no one is. And he just, for some reason, after I think like a day of talking to him, just gave me edit access to the GitHub. And yeah, here I am 14 years later. So I guess like in 2011, when I started working on Craftbook, I pretty much just stayed on that project. But like every so often I would make a small change here or there to the others, but I was mainly on Craftbook. It is probably, yeah, it's a plugin that I still care about deeply, despite it not being as popular as it used to be. But in, I think it was 2017 or 2018, when the 1.13 update happened, it just required a lot of work to actually get up to date for, and I guess no one else was really going to do it, so I just kind of did it because I had edit access to all of the plugins by that point. And then once I did that, it just kind of continued, I guess. Yeah, like I guess there wasn't like a formal process or anything. It's just SK had kind of lost interest in the project many years prior, so large changes were kind of up to like other maintainers to do. And there's 3 of us now working on Worldedit, like in our free time. Big change was required, so we just kind of took the lead and did it.
However, the turbulence in the Minecraft scene was far from over, and we'd see many more shakeups before we even reach our modern landscape. July 18th, 2018. Minecraft released its update 1.13, known in the community as the flattening. Many developers who had clung to maintaining their decades-old projects finally gave up due to the enormous rewrite it required. And even Worldedit wasn't spared. And you mentioned it before, right? There was a major rework necessary for 1.13. A lot of creators have pointed this out to me over the years. Could you maybe elaborate on what those major issues were at the time?
It was kind of the first big step. So Mojang have been basically remaking large parts of the underlying game engine, I guess, to basically, from what it seems, allow a lot more like custom content, data packs, etc. And a big step of that was kind of getting rid of the previous system they had where there was like block IDs and like block data values, because those kind of just heavily limited like future block expansion. Like you'll notice after it came out, they just added so many blocks to the game, but also like it really messed up modability because like Worldedit works with blocks. A complete restructuring of how blocks function inherently kind of, you know, mixes things up there a little bit.
Another huge thing that happened this year? Fabric released. Built as a simpler, faster updating mod than Forge, it heavily required on mixins, a technology shaped by the Sponge team, and in particularly Mumphrey. Fabric completely transformed the modding landscape, and together with Paper, which has overtaken Spigot, Fabric forms the bedrock of modern Minecraft multiplayer. Both are built on the bones of previous works, projects, whose spirit still lives on within them. Whether through active contributions or code written by 14-year-olds high on Doritos, YouTube poops, and Stickman memes, this remains the foundation of a multi-million-dollar industry. But one project still stands above all others. Worldedit. It has survived every major collapse and has appeared on nearly every major server software ever made. And while mods like Axiom exist, which are impressive, let's be honest here, Worldedit is still installed on over 56 Minecraft servers worldwide. And that is nothing to sneer at. I make these videos because I genuinely think it's important to document what happens in Minecraft's early days. Despite millions of copies sold, we're already forgetting the projects and people who made this success possible. I recently asked in a community poll if people even know who SK89Q is, and the results are kinda sad, because even though Mojang will never admit it, I believe that the servers, the mods, the plugins, your silly Minecraft video that got 15 views, all of that contributed and still contribute to Minecraft's long-term success. And it would be a shame to lose that history, the thing that brought our blog game so far. Maddie was around for it all, and she documented everything in her 9,000-word blog post, A Decade of Survival Minecraft, which I relied heavily on for this video. She, like so many of us, believes we should preserve Minecraft's early history. How important is the history of Minecraft and its preservation for you personally?
It is pretty easy for stuff like this to become lost. Like if you look up like a lot of games, a lot of the early stuff is lost. And it's not so much like I know there are projects that are trying to preserve like old versions of Minecraft, old versions of plugins, etc. I think those are good efforts, but it's not exactly where my interests lie exactly. It is kind of more so the knowledge side, and just I just like countering misinformation, I guess, because rumors spread and they're like, oh, this was the first plugin, and I'm like, no, it's not.
So now that we've looked at the ancient bones of HMod, Bukkit, and all those projects, let us turn our gaze forwards. What's next? Paper finally hard forked from Spigot, allowing it to break decades-old code for better optimization. Fabric gains influence in the technical community because people rely on bugs for their contraption, and Paper takes the liberty of fixing those. We will likely see more projects rise and fall, like the countless others before them. And Bedrock and Java, maybe they'll inch closer to parity, and we'll see a fully cross-play ecosystem someday. But if not, we still have the amazing Geyser project, making it possible in the meantime. For me, the beauty of Minecraft lies in what you create with it. It's not only our world, but it goes far beyond. The projects, the people. But to end it all, I'll leave you with some advice from Minecraft's veteran.
I don't think it's ever too late for a new plugin to become massive. Like, so many times plugins have just died out a bit and then been overtaken. Like Luck Perms, which is like the only permissions plugin people use at this point. And like Luck Perms is a late comer to it. Don't let the existence of the fact that there are already a lot of big plugins stop you from making something new and innovative. And then I guess onto the second piece of advice, which young me really needed to hear. Don't just add everything. Like, have a plan, have like a cohesive like plan for what this plugin should do. If someone comes to you and says, hey, I wish it would do this, you don't need to listen to every single person. Like, I kind of struggle to say no to things. So I would just have people coming and saying, oh, why doesn't Craftbook do this? And then I would just add it. And then I had like a configuration file that was so complicated and all these like behaviors that just did not make sense together. People always want really niche things, and you need to just learn to like say no and stick to your plugins, like plan and core, like its core purpose, I guess. Yeah, like its core purpose and identity.
Thank you so much for watching. Now get out of my house. Hey, just want to thank you for watching this video. I also want to thank all the creators who helped me figure out this video and help me with their cameos. The Skybo, for instance, coming in to do like a collab thingy. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Maddie. Thank you for the Engine Hub team for helping me with all my questions. And yeah, this is the kind of the forum that I want to do going forward. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll answer them in the next video at the end. But for now, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.